Resuming debate, reprise de débat, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Fisheries, Oceans and the Canadian Coast Guard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable colleagues, it's a pleasure for me to rise in the House today and talk about Bill C-55. The Minister of Fisheries and Oceans and the Canadian Coast Guard has been given a clear mandate to protect Canada's three oceans, our coasts, our waterways, and our fisheries to ensure that they remain healthy for the benefit of future generations. This is a commitment that I take very seriously and that I take very personally, Madam Speaker, and I am extremely honoured that my first piece of legislation as the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister is for such a worthy cause. The Oceans Act is a fundamental tool that Canadians rely upon to ensure the future health of our marine ecosystems. I truly believe that at the end of the day, a pristine and abundant environmental ecosystem is the greatest underlying economic driver that we have. Specific to today's debate, the Government of Canada is committed to ACHI Target 11 under the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. Welcome, Mr. Speaker. This commits us to conserve 10% of our coastal and marine areas through the establishment and effective management of marine protected areas and other effective area-based conservation measures by 2020. Canada's commitment to meet this target was confirmed again in 2015 through our support of the United Nations General Assembly 2030 Sustainable Development Program. Now, our government established an interim target of protecting 5% of marine and coastal areas by the end of 2017 to show our seriousness to achieving this goal, and we will meet this standard, Mr. Speaker. This government is making progress on our marine conservation targets through cooperation and strong partnerships with provincial, territorial, municipal governments, and through a renewed relationship with Indigenous peoples. These partnerships enable us to deliver real and positive changes that will preserve ecosystems and species to ensure that Canada's marine resources can continue to support sustainable industries, local economies, and our coastal communities. Our three oceans are complex webs of ecological and human systems that need to be understood and, in many cases, need to be protected. Marine protected areas and marine protected area networks preserve these ecological links and protect diverse marine ecosystems and species. Excuse me a second. Canadians understand that our oceans hold many wonders and are an important source of resources. But they also expect us to deliver healthier oceans for generations to come, and this legislation is going to help us do that. We will continue to establish marine protected areas through science-based decision-making, transparency, and in a manner that advances reconciliation with Indigenous people. The government has followed the 5-point plan that we announced on Oceans Day 2016. This plan is not only guiding our efforts at home, it is helping us reclaim our position as a leader on the international stage when it comes to ocean protection. The 5-point plan includes advancing areas of interest towards designation as marine protected areas, such as the 140,000 square kilometers of ocean that was identified for protection off the west coast of Vancouver Island earlier this summer. The plan also includes the goal of establishing MPAs faster based on results of scientific study and thorough consultations. As was mentioned previously by the Prime Minister, Canada has taken important steps towards its 5% target, now having achieved 3.63%. or almost 209,000 square kilometers of marine and coastal protection right across our three oceans. It currently takes an average of 7 years to designate an Oceans Act marine protected area. It requires time to undertake scientific assessments, socioeconomic studies, as well as conduct consultations with government, Indigenous groups, and stakeholders. These are important steps that cannot be eliminated as they ensure that a marine protected area achieves its intended objectives while supporting local culture, the economy, and other needs. That said, a very clear understanding of what needs to be protected typically emerges well before all of this data is compiled. Amendments to the Oceans Act under Bill C-55 propose solutions that will help us protect critical and unique areas of Canada's oceans faster without sacrificing the necessary science and consultation processes. The amendments ensure collaboration continues, requiring provinces, territories, Indigenous groups, industry, other stakeholders to be a part both of the establishment but also the management processes. Essentially, Mr. Speaker, Bill C-55 proposes amendments that would provide an additional tool that will allow for interim protection of areas requiring protection through a ministerial order. This interim protection would be done following initial science and consultation that would take around 24 months. Following this step, the full federal regulatory process would continue to formally designate the marine protected area within 5 years. These amendments would assure that, when needed, an interim marine protected area can be put in place. New activities that risk further harm to ocean ecosystems, habitat, or marine life would not be allowed to occur in these interim protected zones. These amendments not only respect current activities, but also the need to conduct comprehensive consultations and scientific research before the final marine protected area is established. So you can see that the time frame to fully establish a marine protected area may still be up to 7 years, but there could be some sort of level of interim protection in place within the first 2. No longer can a lack of 100% scientific certainty be used to delay or prevent the protection of a sensitive marine area that Canadians are counting on us collectively within this House to protect. This is a policy that is entirely in lockstep with the precautionary approach, which is a founding principle of conservation in Canada. To put it another way, an interim marine protected area would essentially freeze the footprint of ongoing activities. Under this concept, only ongoing activities, which are those activities occurring within 1 year before the interim protection is in place, would be allowed to continue. For example, current fishing activities, or fishing activities where a moratorium is in place but licenses are still held, would be considered ongoing activities. To further support this new concept, which is integral to the creation of an interim marine protected area, Bill C-55 also includes amendments that would require application of the precautionary principle when deciding whether to designate new marine protected areas. This means if there's incomplete information or lack of absolute certainty, 100% scientific certainty, as I previously described, it would not be justification for avoiding protection where there is a risk to the biodiversity and the marine ecosystem. Bill C-55 also includes modernized, updated, and strengthened enforcement powers, fines, and punishments under the Oceans Act. The amendments and additions proposed in Bill C-55 align with other environmental laws, such as the Environmental Enforcement Act and the Canadian Environment Protection Act. Mr. Speaker, the proposed amendments to the Oceans Act have received broad support during outreach efforts to discuss the bill. Canadians recognize that the amendments would not short-circuit the development of sound science or cut off people's opportunity to collaborate and be consulted in the development of marine protected areas. Instead, they would ensure protection could be put in place quicker in the interests of all Canadians. We would be able to act on initial science and information to help keep these areas safe while the additional research, engagement, regulatory processes are worked through. Supporting the health of our oceans is necessary to ensure the future generations will be able to rely on the unique and precious marine ecosystems and resources that underlie our environment and our economy. It should go without saying, but Canadians are counting on us to protect our oceans, more than ever before, Mr. Speaker, a resource that, at times, we have too often taken for granted. I invite everyone in this House to support Bill C-55, an act to amend the Oceans Act, and to ensure the protection of our oceans, not only today, Mr. Speaker, but for generations to come. Thank you.
Questions et commentaires.